Hi, this is Venus again. Today I'm going to talk to you about ethereal crystal healing, or just working with crystal energies if you're new to them, and getting a sense of the differences between different crystals and how to use them, how to send that energy to yourself, whether you have the crystal present or not, or sending it to someone else. So when I first started working with crystals, I had a friend and he showed me how crystals felt, what sort of energy was being sent, um, how different crystals might feel differently from another. And so I have here a rose quartz. I like rose quartz. That was the first one that I ever worked with. Not this particular stone, but a rose quartz little pyramid. This is a citrine. It's nice and clear. Usually you'll find the tumbled stones will be very orangey, but this one is very clear. A malachite. I have an amethyst. And I have a celestine, also called celestite, depending on who you ask, or celestite. So we're going to start with rose quartz because I like that. And basically you're going to take your left hand. Now if you are left-handed naturally, you can do this the opposite way. This might be much more comfortable for you. But normally you take the crystal in your dominant hand, and you take your non-dominant hand, which is considered your receiving hand, and you want to hold the crystal a few inches away from your hand. So you can hold it like this, where it's above, you can hold it below, or side by side as I'm doing right now. So I'm holding this close. It's not touching, as you can obviously see. But after a while, you can kind of sit quietly with it for a few seconds or a couple of minutes. If you are someone who really doesn't sense energy at all, it may take a little bit longer to notice a difference. But you want to hold it kind of close by and just sit for a moment. After a while, you're going to start to sense that the energy around your hand is different. So you might feel a light pressure. The pressure could be very evenly distributed across your hand, or you might start to feel like it's a very localized pressure. You may also feel kind of a hot sensation or a cold sensation, or a little prickly feeling, or even kind of like a light humming through your hand. So I'm holding the rose quartz here, and I'm feeling a very like evenly distributed kind of warm light sensation across my hand, except when I just moved right then it kind of changed. It becomes a little hotter when I do it like this. But anyway, so I'm sensing kind of that warm, very light, sort of humming. Like as I sit it here for a while, it sort of has kind of a humming vibration across my hand. Now I'm going to take the malachite. This one's kind of small, so when you have a small one, you might want to hold it just a little bit closer. Now the malachite is actually a very different sensation. As I'm holding this this stone close by, it feels stronger, a little bit more intense than the rose quartz. It's a little bit of a almost like a pulling sensation. There's like a little bit of a vibrating feeling, but also kind of like almost like it's pulling against my hand. And I feel like at the point where it's over, so if I were to hold this close, like right at that point, I feel kind of like little tiny, almost like pinpricks, but not quite as sharp as that. Okay, and so then we're going to take the celestine. So taking the celestine, I'm going to hold it close to my hand. Wow. I used to love celestine. So this one, it's It's very almost cool. Like I feel kind of a sweeping, almost coolness, very light and airy feeling spreading across my hand. It's also very evenly distributed. It's not a centralized thing like the malachite. That could also be because this is a little bit bigger, but celestite is kind of more of an airy type of stone anyway. Now I feel like as I moved it, I feel the sensation changing somewhat. Now it becomes a bit more localized as I move it. But just holding it for a while. My hand sort of tingles. It's really charged with the energy now. And one of the things you can do if you are starting to use something similar to ethereal crystal healing and you kind of aren't confident just saying amethyst and sending your hands out and sending amethyst energy, you can take the stone in your hand. So you can take it, I'd probably put it in the receiving hand. So you take the energy and kind of hold it for a little while, let your hand really get charged with the crystal. And then you're just going to imagine the energy running through your arm, across your shoulder, across your chest and your heart, down the other shoulder and hand, and sending the energy outward. So right now I'm going to send you guys a few minutes of amethyst energy. So I feel a little prickling feeling in my empty hand as I send this out. And it's growing stronger the longer I send the energy. So you can do a healing that way, just taking the crystals in your hand and sending the healing out by holding the crystal, focusing it, letting it sort of travel through the heart and out the other hand. Over time, as you work with the energies, as you start playing with the crystals more, especially if you find you're spending a lot of time with different crystals, like let's say you spend a couple of weeks working specifically with, you know, a rose quartz, an agate, a clear quartz, you're going to start to notice the more time you spend with them, what the energy feels like and how each one is a little bit different. And this is useful. So when you're sending healing, you get a definite sense. So after a while, you really don't need the crystal anymore. Like I can just sit and think of a crystal, or particularly if it's a crystal I've ever seen or touched or played with. You know, I may have only seen a crystal a few times and played with it, but I kind of remember what it feels like, and I mentally think of that crystal in my mind when I'm going to send out the healing. So I will actually visualize what I remember that kind of crystal looking like, feeling like, and I will send that out during the healing to my client. I tend to like to imagine my clients in a room made of crystal or in a space where I can work with a particular crystal and send it to them. This is like part of my visualization process when I'm doing a distance healing. If I was doing an in-person healing, I could easily do it this way, or have a client hold a crystal and then send healing over them, or really, I don't even have to have them hold it. I'm comfortable enough with a lot of different crystal energies that I just sort of mentally focus very intently on the crystal energy that I want to project, and I'll just send it out. I tend to use certain crystals a lot more than others, partly because I have a lot of experience with specific ones. Like there's ones that I'll see like that I'm attuned to with ethereal crystal healing, but because I've never really worked with them in person, or maybe only once or twice, I don't think to call on those energies because I'm not as, like, they don't readily come to my mind. to work with someone, but that's not necessarily the case for everyone. So when you get attuned to ethereal crystal healing, you'll get a manual with lists of different crystals, and a lot of the manuals don't necessarily come with descriptions of each one, so you have to look online, or I recommend buying a crystal book. So Love is in the Earth is probably the most well-known one, and it's a very thick, fat book. If I had mine handy, I would show it to you. But it's a big, thick, purple, almost encyclopedia of different crystals, the most sort of common stones that people use in healing, and it gives a good description of what each one represents, what it does, where it comes from, because different crystals come from different countries. But that's basically it. So I hope you enjoyed our little chat today, and that you benefited from getting the amethyst healing for a few minutes, and have a great day. Bye.